Often I get asked, in particular around the women of the cult that I escaped, about their accent and why they have an accent. Now, as I've never studied linguistics or dialectology as much as I would love to, I don't have the attention span, I don't think, for study. I wanted to delve into this because I get asked this on a weekly basis. Can you talk about their accent? Why do they have an accent? Now, the girls in particular have an accent. And the only way that I can explain it from my own experience and as to why the Brethren or the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church members seem to have an accent in more remote areas or isolated areas, because of how the community is structured, in the sense that it is a very close-knit group or cult. And yes, they're not a commune, as I have explained, tucked away in a forest. They are a tight-knit group that does exist within society. However, the rules are so strict around communicating or having to do with outsiders, and there's such strict limitations on their access to the real world in terms of technology, so be that television, Netflix, radio, music. Can you see where I'm going? They're not getting exposure to real life voices, to real world conversations. They're only allowed to hear what they've been given in terms of media or what they're allowed access to. So they're definitely not allowed on social media and YouTube channels. And on top of that, because they only socialize within themselves, the cult schools, the One School Global, they don't have any outsider kids. Yes, they have teachers, but I don't think it's long enough they're not exposed to a single teacher long enough to develop that dialect, I guess, or accent. It's a very, and if you know, you'll know what I'm talking about, because I get asked this a lot, and in particular girls. It's a very sort of drawly, Ocker Aussie accent. I don't even know if I can do it, but it's pretty much sounds like that. And yeah, like they talk like that. Anyway, that's why I think the cult is like only 50,000 members worldwide, and you only can have those members for dinner. But even that is organised and orchestrated to some extent, where you'll get a list on a Friday night where you have, what they call the break, lunch on Sunday, and on that list is who you have to have. So it's all very, very organised, very controlled. So there's no access to the outside world. Yes, you get some members that will have Netflix secretly or will have music secretly, particularly those higher up, like the Hales family. I know this from experience and from what other people have told me. The grassroots brethren, the people like my own family or other family members that were lower down in the echelon, they don't have access to it. They don't have access to the real world, and they believe the whole, we keep separation. They call it separation from evil. They believe it so much so that they don't allow themselves the exposure to the real world. And this is the only way I can explain why they have this accent, why they have this. It's kind of like Gloria Vale members. I remember watching something on that recently, and somebody was commenting on there saying, why do we know they're Gloria Vale? Why is it the accent? It's because it's such an insular community. They're only talking to people within that community because that's all they're allowed to do. Yes, they might talk to somebody at the shop. They might talk to somebody in business. That's not enough. Their 99.9% exposure is only within that group. That's all they talk to. The rest is, you talk. You've got to keep it brief. You've got to keep your contact with the outside limited, because you don't want to be influenced by the evil in the real world. So I hope that answers your questions about my thoughts around why the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church cult members have a very Ocker Aussie accent. And I'm just speaking for Australians. I don't know if it's in other countries. I've only been asked that here.